Yes, so Judith, I should have a higher value than Nelson Mandela's
His
wife.
wife.
I think so.
Remember, she was famous in her own right.
Yeah, so I don't care. I don't care. I don't, because what do Jamaican men give you? Nothing. They don't, not a duck, not a rabbit, nothing. She get 50 cow. I'm sorry, I think we deserve more.
Excuse me, can you just sit up a bit?
Oh, yeah, I'd lean forward myself too.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay. All right. Yes?
Tape rolling.
We are, oh, sorry.
3, 2.
We are here on the business report with Mrs. Judith Ramlogan. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. So what happens is a lot of small businesses, mid-sized businesses, and even large businesses are shocked to find out that compliance issues, taxes, company law, filings, prevent them from getting financing and the support they require to grow their business. So Mrs. Ramlogan, talk to us about what's happening right now in Jamaica and even give us a quick tip on how to prevent this challenge.
Right, as I said, thank you so much for having me. Compliance is not a very exciting topic, but it is a real and important topic, right? Because as you said, when small businesses go to financial institutions, they're sometimes turned down because their house is not in order. They're not in compliance with their statutory obligations. And I am here specifically referring to statutory obligations under the Companies Act, right? The Companies Act in relation to a company requires that companies must file annual returns every year, and if there are changes to their directors, their company secretary, or their registered office, they should give notice. So if they don't, but usually it is the annual returns that is the problem.
Okay,
right.
And this impacts profitability,
right,
and funding.
Yes. Also, it could subject companies to fines and penalties.
Yes.
If you don't file your annual returns.
Okay.
And I just want to say here that the penalties for not filing your annual returns have increased significantly. So under the amendments of the Companies Act, if you don't file your annual return, the company is liable to a $5 million penalty.
Wow. So give us one quick tip on how to
file your annual returns.
Okay, thank you.
File your annual returns on time, right? I also want to say that the Companies Office has started removing companies that have not filed their annual returns. You don't want that because what it means, you'll have to stop your business.
Wow. Thank you, Mrs. Ramlogan.
You're welcome.
Yes, with the Jamaica Stock Exchange Corporate Services Unit. Mm-hmm. All right. Nasburn, that was interview number 1. All right, next one. So I'll reintroduce you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, okay, so this one now, we want to look at long term. So yes, you can get struck from the roll. So we did that already, mm-hmm. and you can get the 5 million. Now we want to look at long term. So if you have the purpose of even having a company is mm-hmm. years and years. So.
Right. Well, I'm not going to say anything about the law then.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is how it affects companies internally then.
All right, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2.
Denise Williams here with Mrs. Judith Ramlogan, attorney at law and the head of the Corporate Services Unit at Jamaica Stock Exchange. Welcome, Mrs. Ramlogan.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now one of the challenges of compliance, it's not fun, but it has an impact on the long-term profitability of a business and just the long-term well-being. So give me a few of your thoughts on this.
Well, long term, what a company will get from compliance is, financial stability, risk mitigation. Because if you have a proper structure in place, then you can look at the risks that may be facing the company, and you can decide how you can assess, you can decide how you mitigate against those risks, right? And you can manage them more effectively. Mm-hmm. So that is one thing. You are more prepared for crises, right? Because you understand the risks, you are up to date with the risks, so you can better prepare for crises if mm-hmm. you have to face any of them, right? Also, you have if you are in good if your corporate governance is good, then you can have access to more access to capital, and a lower cost of financing.
Very mm-hmm. important. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mrs. Ramlogan. Now, if you have a company, compliance is, as I said, not fun, but very important. Mm-hmm. And so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Nasburn, that was number 2. Now we're on the 3rd business report interview. Okay, so now we're going to drill down more on the services, corporate services.
Okay.
Right.
What you mean?
Number
general corporate services.
Yes.
Not just for not JSE.
Well, yeah, because we want to talk. What do you help? How do you help?
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Let me just
hold on.
Yeah. Let me just find that. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
You all right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3, 2.
Denise Williams here, and we are joined by Mrs. Judith Ramlogan, head of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Corporate Services Unit. And in this very complex economy that we're in, investors need to know their money is safe and that the company is complying with the laws of the land. So we're going to just get a brief understanding from Mrs. Ramlogan how a corporate services outsourcing unit helps.
Right. So sometimes what I have seen is that companies.
No, let's cut because you were doing this first, so I want you got to look up at me. So I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
3, 2.
Denise Williams here, and we are joined by Mrs. Judith Ramlogan. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and she's head of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Corporate Services Unit. Now, in this environment where things are changing so rapidly, compliance is really how we protect investors' interests. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so we have Mrs. Ramlogan here to talk to us about how her services help, how a corporate services outsourcing unit helps companies and protects investors and the community at large.
So thank you for having me. So I just want to explain that, with most companies in Jamaica are small to medium sized. Right? So with the larger companies, they would have their corporate secretarial services unit. They may have such a unit, and so
I mean in-house, the company.
In-house, right? But with the small and medium-sized companies, they just can't afford that kind of service. So and what I have found is that compliance is a full-time job. Right? So it's hard to run the business and also look at the compliance matters and make sure that the company is on top of them. So that is why for some medium and small businesses, they outsource. Right? And I would recommend that because, corporate secretarial services are professionals. You have professionals who will do the work for the company. So the company will be in compliance.
Yes.
But they won't have to have the hassle
Yes.
of being in compliance.
Because it's a
So
hassle.
they farm it out,
Yes.
and but they can be assured that they're
Right.
in compliance.
So what you're saying is a company then is investing in
Yes.
being compliant, freeing themselves from a hassle,
Yes.
and ensuring that their stakeholders and the community
Right.
is confident
Yes.
that they are doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramlogan.
You're most welcome.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay. So now we're going to start again. I'm going to introduce you
Okay.
and then go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. What's 4 and 5 again?
So 4 and 5,
You're doing which one now? You're doing
the long form.
long form?
Yes.
The interview reading.
Yes. The 25
The
minutes.
interview.
25 minutes.
How much?
25.
How
25.
much time is it?
Yes.
Alright.
Standard.
Right.
Wait a little bit.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. So so we're just going to go straight through.
Straight through. So we're basically having a conversation.
Okay.
So you're just gonna be looking at me. You can look down if you need to, but you're gonna look at me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a conversation. Trying, compliance is boring, so it doesn't have to be necessarily as serious
Right.
because it's damn boring, but it's
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 necessary.
necessary. It's very necessary. You don't want to go to jail for $5 million.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
you
because
can't,
you were bored. Yeah.
if you can't pay that, that's what's gonna
Right,
happen.
right. So,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so confused. Okay. Well, I guess you see the answers to most of the questions are, kind of the same.
I know,
Yeah.
but we just have a conversation. So don't worry about it. If you even repeat yourself, don't worry
Okay.
too much about it.
Okay.
Standard.
Okay.
3, 2.
Good day. This is Financially Focused, and my name is Denise Williams, your host. Now, investing is a huge part of what we talk about a lot at Financially Focused, but you don't invest in a vacuum. It is so important to know that the persons you're trusting with your money have integrity. They are obeying the laws of the land, and they're not doing what they want to do with your money as if it's theirs. But how will you know? How are you going to feel confident that the right things are being done at the right time? Well, this is where the world of compliance comes in. Now, yes, it's a lot of paperwork. Yes, you're going to various government agencies. It's not fun. But at the end of the day, there's literally no other tool to help you, the investor, feel comfortable that the company is doing what they're supposed to do. And that's why we're so pleased with our guest today, Mrs. Judith Ramlogan, attorney at law and head of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Corporate Services Unit. Mrs. Ramlogan, things have changed in the world of compliance. There is now jail time, there is now huge, gigantic fees, and small businesses are overwhelmed. Medium-sized businesses are overwhelmed, and big businesses have to hire a ton of lawyers.
Yes.
But your position is that it's all necessary. So talk to us about the world of compliance.
When as companies, when you register, when you incorporate a company, right, you incorporate it under the Companies Act, and the Companies Act sets out certain compliance matters. You must comply. It is not, whether you have a choice or not, you must comply.
I can't bother though, it's too much work.
Well, what we're saying to you, if you can't do it, and we understand that you might not be able to do it because you're running the operations of the business, So what you need to do is outsource it, right? Because what we have found is that compliance is a full-time business.
Right.
So it's hard for you to run your business, what you formed the company to do, as well as the compliance matters.
So you're confessing what so many small businesses and medium businesses are dreading, that they spend hours in the government offices
Yes.
just to do some paperwork.
Yes, yes.
Why?
I don't want to say that it is the law, but it is the law. But
Okay.
there are benefits.
Okay, so tell us
There
what
are
the
benefits to companies complying, right? So first, and I'll put it at the top, right, is that you know, if you don't comply, there are fines and there are penalties.
yeah, lots, right?
Right. So, you know, the Companies Act was amended last year to include a $5 million penalty if you do not file your annual returns.
Okay.
Right.
So what happens if you don't have the $5 million?
Jail time.
Wow.
Jail time. Because,
Wow.
you know, you are supposed to file. Right. In addition, the Companies Office now is removing companies that do not file annual returns.
Wow.
Right? So, you know, the government is serious about compliance.
Wow. But I feel so threatened.
Well, you know, if you are on the right side of the law, there is no need to feel threatened. And what we would suggest is that you outsource. If you find it difficult, outsource the compliance matters. You know, for professionals, it's not difficult, right? So just outsource those.
And this is something you do every day.
Yes. So outsource your compliance matters. So, and you can rest assured that these persons are professional,
Yes.
right? Because now the government has instructed or has mandated that persons or organizations that offer corporate secretarial services must be licensed.
Okay, so give me an idea of some of the filings I need to do.
Okay, so the most important one, the annual return. After the company has been incorporated, the next year and every year after that, you must file your annual returns. And the annual return, I don't want people to be confused. There are two types of returns. One you file with the tax office, and one you file with the Companies Office. Unfortunately, they have the same name, right? They're annual returns. But one you file with the tax office, which speaks about the money you have earned and your profits, and the other you file with the Companies Office, which doesn't have anything to do with that, but it gives you a synopsis, it gives the public a synopsis, right, of what has happened to the company in regards to its shares. Did it acquire any shares? Well, actually, no. Not whether it acquired any shares, whether it disposed of any shares, right? Whether its shareholders acquired or disposed of any shares. The directors, whether there were any changes with the directors, whether the registered office changed. Right, so that kind of information, the company's total indebtedness, if there is none, you just put 0. Right, so those are the kinds of things that are required for the annual return. They must be filed every year.
Okay.
Right.
What
if
else?
there are any changes to your directors, to your company, to your registered office, or to your company secretary, you must also provide the Companies Office with that information. And there's an additional form that you must file now, and it is the beneficial ownership form. Right, you have to say who the company's beneficial owners are every year. So when you file the annual return, you are to file a beneficial ownership return as well.
Anything else? So we have the annual return that happens every year, and there's
Right.
2, one for tax office,
Right.
one for Companies Office.
Yes.
Anything else?
Well, the beneficial ownership.
But okay.
Yes. And if there are any changes to the information on the beneficial ownership, you are to file that as well.
Why is beneficial ownership important?
Because the government not only wants to know who the legal owners are, but also the beneficial owners, which are the persons who really own the shares.
Oh, so you mean like I could be hiding behind somebody
Right.
and using a front person.
Yes.
But I'm really in charge.
Yes.
Ah.
So
okay.
you are to provide that information because the government, internationally, the Financial Action Task Force has done research, and it has been shown that companies are used, right, as vehicles to launder money and to provide terrorists with financing, right? So, because usually when you form a company, you don't look behind the corporate veil. But now the government is saying that we want to know who are the beneficial owners.
Okay.
So that information must be provided.
So far we've got 3 documents, right? 2 annual returns, beneficial owner. What
Right.
else?
So that is it. If you're a public company,
Yes.
then you would have to file your financial statements.
Right.
If you're a company that's limited by guarantee, like a charity,
Yeah.
you would have to file in an income and expenditure statement.
What if I'm a hairdresser?
Well, if you're a hairdresser and you're not, so let me ask: are you a hairdresser that has formed a company, or are you a hairdresser that uses a trading as name?
Both.
Legally you can't do that, but theoretically,
Okay,
right?
all right.
So if you're a hairdresser, right? All that you would file, you would register as a business name, right? And you would, every 3 years, the business name registration expires.
Okay.
So you would you would renew your business names, your business name registration, right? You wouldn't need to file any annual return or any beneficial ownership return because you're not a company. You just have a business name.
Okay.
Which is renewable every 3 years. You might have to get a license from the parish council because you are practicing as a hairdresser, and you have a hairdressing salon.
If I'm a hairdresser that's registered as a company, then what's
Yeah.
different?
Well, so you would have to provide the annual returns, the beneficial ownership return. If you are a hairdresser and you are a hairdresser that is going to make profit, and most hairdressers do, a small company is not required to file any financial statements with the company's office. So it would just be the annual return, the beneficial ownership return, and if you have any changes to your registered office, your corporate secretary, or your directors.
What if I'm a church?
If you are a church, then that would be a charitable organization, and you would have to file an income and an expenditure statement,
Okay.
as well as the annual return and the beneficial ownership return.
Okay. Wow. So even a church needs to be compliant.
Yes, because churches are usually formed as companies, and the Financial Action Task Force has seen where charities are used to launder money and for terrorism financing.
Right.
So they are required to file beneficial ownership information as well.
I see. So an individual trading as a charity, which includes a church, and then companies.
Right.
Okay.
Companies that you form, because the church wouldn't be a company, just limited by guarantee, right? And then you have companies limited by shares, which are for-profit companies.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask another question. Burning question. Shows that I am not a compliance expert. Why do banks give such a hard time? Why do they want a TCC? Why do they want updated company registration? Why? It's such a pain.
Well, those are compliance procedures as well for the banks. There are procedures called KYC, Know Your Customer.
Yes.
There is customer due diligence, right, which is required. So under that rubric comes all the issues, all the information that they require.
Right.
Because they need to know their customer. And it's the same Financial Action Task Force saying that, a company's financial framework,
Yes.
right, should be secure. So
Okay.
that is the reason why banks are required to ask for that information, for so much information.
All right, here's my question. Give me a scenario based on your experience how corporate secretarial services contribute to a company's profitability.
Okay. So the first thing, when you're in good corporate governance, right, you avoid fines and penalties, which can, as we had discussed, the $5 million penalty for failure to file your annual returns for a small business that seriously affects the bottom line, right? So that's one thing. Minimize disruptions, because if you are unaware of the risks that you face, right, you could ignore those risks, and then up comes a situation which makes your operation. So for instance, there's a hurricane, right? And you don't have hurricane shutters or something like that, and it destroys your equipment. Then you are going to have to close your business until you fix those issues.
Right.
Right? So those kinds of things. It also helps to, when you can build, because you're compliant, because the investor can see that you're compliant. You file your annual returns, right? You don't have any tax returns outstanding. Mm-hmm. That builds confidence.
Okay.
In the investor, right?
Right.
Prevent reputational damage as well, right? And companies are brands, right? If the reputation is damaged, then your customers might not have any confidence in you anymore. They might lose confidence in you. That affects your bottom line as well, mm-hmm. right? Productivity, right? Improve productivity, because you can focus. You don't have to be worrying about, am I in compliance and that kind of thing. So the company can just focus its efforts mm-hmm. on productivity, right?
Okay. All right. Can I ask you a controversial question? Right. What's very popular is people try to invest online in like bots and other kind of schemes to make quick money. And then when it goes bad, they want to get back their money, So somebody's been investing in some kind of scheme and says, okay, I'm putting in money and I'm supposed to get 10% back every month. But they never asked any compliance. So they don't know who the beneficial owner is. They don't have any company documents. They don't know where the scheme is registered. It's online. It's registered in the internet. So they come to you. What can you do for them?
They didn't do their due diligence.
So so the controversy is, how would you help someone like that get back your money, and can you?
I'm not sure that we could, because the due diligence that should have been done before wasn't done.
Yeah.
Right? So we would have to do some research.
So if I see an address on a website, not good enough?
No. An address on a website?
Yes.
I mean a web address?
No, not the www dot. Like when you scroll down to the bottom of the web page and you see registered in California. Mm-hmm. Is that good enough?
Well, I think you would have had to go further to check to see, if they check other third party.
But if they don't have the beneficial ownership form, and then there's no tax forms, because you don't get that online.
The beneficial ownership form is not public.
But how do I protect myself online? Because you're telling me compliance protects me, right?
All right.
But this is the controversy.
You are the investor.
Yeah, and this is the controversy. How do I protect myself online?
It's controversial because most of the compliance requirements are not really for online. Right? Not really for internet only companies. Right? But so if you should do as an investor, potential investor,
right,
you should do your due diligence.
Yes.
Right? Make sure that the company is registered somewhere, not just online.
Right.
Right? So if the company is registered in California, you could go to the company, to the requisite office in California. You can go online and do some research to see if this company is really registered. Just don't take the company's word for it then. Do some
Right.
third-party investigations.
Right. Because if you say a company you see in bricks and mortar, you kind of assume they have an attorney or a company person, right? But online, so I think it's controversial because online, what do you have?
Right. Well, you know, brick and mortar, you should do your due diligence as well, because they could set up a brick and mortar and there's just a building and nothing else.
Right.
So I would advise people to do due diligence with third parties. So,
Right.
you know, because most such companies will be registered with the government then.
Right.
Right? They will have a register general's department or a register of companies. So you could do your due diligence to make sure before you invest that this company is not a scam.
All right. So we're saying brick and mortar in your local space, there's things you can check. Online, you should ask, so it's not a scam.
Right.
Here's another one. It's not controversial, but it's important. What about companies that are multinational that have a headquarters here? How does compliance work?
Well, so it has a headquarters. It had headquarters here. And
No, it has an office here,
Oh, office
but they're
here.
selling goods and services here. How does
Right.
it work?
So a company like that, so it would have been registered elsewhere,
Yes,
or it would have been incorporated elsewhere,
right.
and then registered here, right? That is allowable, and the Companies Act.
So they don't have to worry about our laws or our...
No, they do.
Oh.
I was going to tell you that the Companies Act deals with what we call overseas companies.
Okay.
So companies that are incorporated elsewhere but have a branch here, there are requirements. They have to file annual returns, right? They have to file beneficial ownership return as well. They have to file...
Oh, they don't escape because they're registered
No.
in London.
No, they don't escape. Once they're registered here, they have to comply with the laws here. Yes.
And how have we evolved, like over the last 20 years, in terms of compliance?
Well, I would say that we are slowly but surely trying to improve compliance, because research that I did says that 60 to 75% of companies registered in Jamaica are delinquent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are delinquent.
Yes.
The new amendments to the Companies Act, however, should reduce that
Delinquency.
that rate significantly,
Right.
because the Companies Act says that, you know, companies can be removed if they are delinquent.
So,
right?
so we've looked at 3 categories. Brick and mortar here, from the hairdresser to the big
The church.
corporate, the
The
church, the
church.
big corporates.
Yes.
We looked at online, which is murky, but you should still do your research
Yes.
before you give your money.
Yes.
And then you said multinationals that are incorporated in another jurisdiction, but operate here, must also comply,
Yes.
right? And to sort of gently encourage compliance, you can go to jail if you don't comply, right?
Yes.
It's gentle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but again, another little, before we close, another little tiny controversy. Should a CEO spend more time on driving sales and earning revenue than on compliance? Isn't that just like, oh gosh, a pain?
No, so the CEO can outsource compliance. There is no law against it, and I would suggest that he does that. If there is no unit, if there is no corporate secretarial services unit,
Right.
he could
Or
outsource,
she, yes.
she could outsource that function.
Right,
Because it really is a profession. It requires a professional person
right,
to do it.
yes,
To be on top of,
Right.
to be always on top of compliance.
okay.
So I would recommend that it be outsourced. The CEO should focus on the operations.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ramlogan.
You're welcome. Thank you
So-
for having me.
Wow, you're welcome. So when building wealth, we have to ask hard questions. It's not just your local companies. There's the online companies and there's the international companies that we spend money with, we invest in. And we're saying that corporate services that looks at compliance is the key to ensuring that somebody's not running off with your money and doing what they want with your money. And the reporting standards that are annual or in some cases every 3 years, we want to make sure they're above board and working for investors and the community's best interest. So again, we're so honored to have Mrs. Ramlogan. My name is Denise Williams, and be sure to check out the website www.financiallyfocusedmedia.com and take part in our free 30-day financial independence course. So take care. I'm done. I said take care.
The paper, when you
Oh, so do it again, close again? Okay. Okay.
just the end part.
All right. All right. So don't start from the when building, just okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Ramlogan. My name is Denise Williams, and here at Financially Focused, we are here to support your journey to wealth. So be sure to check out our website, www.financiallyfocusedmedia.com, and take part in our free 30-day financial independence course. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Beautiful.
All right. Yay!